use a new addiction and disguise it as enlightenment, right? Where maybe they had an issue with alcohol, or maybe they had an issue with harder substances, coke or meth, or I don't know, heroin, any of the harder stuff too. And then they find this other thing that's like not necessarily as bad, right? The psychedelic addictions aren't as invasive to the body, I would say, as and some of those harder substances, but it's still a crutch, I've seen people lean on. Fortunately for myself, I've never abused them. I don't think to that extent, but have used them, right? And so it's just like, I just want people to be careful, right? Where the most important part of like any of those things, if you do them again and all that, where they're legal and proper care and all that stuff, right? Which there's some states I think in the U.S. where where that's happening, where there's like research being done and people can kind of go do that. I had a friend of mine, go to ketamine, right, under like therapy, like under supervised guidance
Mhm.
with a therapist, right? Which I was like, that's crazy. Who would have thought, 10 years ago that would have even been possible. So there's cool stuff happening, right? And in this realm, and that's awesome. And another friend too, a friend of mine, his ex partner is doing some similar things out in Colorado as well. So like I know people in this world that are like doing cool work,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and that's really great. But when you do that, the most important part is coming back to reality, right? The integration back into the real world, back into your day to day, and hopefully you take those lessons and integrate them into your life. But to continue to use these things, not that you can't like every once in a while, right? But it's like when people swap that in and they're like, doing them every weekend or, going on a bender, it's a slippery slope because I think you're just swapping one. And again, with the addictive personalities, and I have addiction in my family, y'all. Like I know that this is something that I've wrestled with my own genetics, with just the addictive personality. And so when people might be predisposed to these sorts of habits or addictions, and you swap a worse one for something else, and it's like great, like it's not as destructive maybe as alcohol or coke or any of those sorts of things, but it can still be harmful to you, right? It's still a crutch. It's still the abuse of a tool that in certain cases and scenarios can be very helpful to open the door to your heart, ideally.